Once again, we have a new tornado warning. This one is across the southern parts of Acadiana. There's actually two tornado warnings, two separate tornado warnings for your area there. It almost looks like there's multiple vortices trying to rotate around the center of that. If I had to put a guess on it right now, 100 to 130 miles per hour.
And if you look very closely at your screen, Acadiana, you can see twin tornadoes.
Wow.
This is in New Iberia.
It looks like as if they're merging together, like dancing with each other, merging together. Look at that.
We heard the loud noise like a train was coming through. We ran into our x-ray room. When it passed through, we came to the front of the office building, and we seen that the windows of our medical office building across the street were blown out, and some of the buildings of the hospital on the sides were blown out also. And this is really big, large oak tree in front of our office. The branches are all blown off of that.
I just had such an uneasy feeling about today with the way our weather, how warm it's been versus what was coming. You know, this stuff happens from time to time, and the thing that kills me is, you know, you make the phone calls to start checking in on people. You hope they answer.
The building, there's the glass windows of the buildings are blown out. It looks like a suspected tornado may have blew through here coming across the field.
And I'm like, man, we got 20 minutes to make a decision. I'm calling my producer, Devonna Dager, who works with us in the morning, and I'm like, man, we're going to bob out of here. And I take storms serious, man. I've been through Hurricane Katrina.
So the Southport neighborhood down here, then it crossed Admiral Drive, and then it moved across, it looks like 90, medical center here, and then moved up into this Estate Road. That's where it ended right there. By looking at the damage, probably at least an EF2 if I had to guess.
Over here on Estate Drive was a kind of ground zero where it exactly happened. As you can see behind me, we have a kind of very dismantled house. This is actually a dentist's office.
One of our mothers of our patient was sitting in the front waiting room, and she happened to see it come from across the bayou, come from Iberia Medical Way, and we all ran and huddled. Ears were ringing and starting to pop. The pressure was really, really high, and you can hear things crashing, hitting everything, and then the water started pouring from the ceilings.
Pictures here of the medical center, and you can see there it did a pretty good damage to that tree, and a lot of windows blown out.
And as you can see right over top of my head, just destruction, sheer destruction.
This is something we see sometimes after a major storm, and a lot of those times there are disaster declarations made. Is anything like that going to be available to the people of New Iberia and Iberia Parish?
Absolutely. When I leave from here, I'm going to the courthouse to sign the declaration. And legal is actually preparing it right now for me. So I'll be signing the declaration in about maybe 30 minutes or so.
Let's take a look at some of this video. First, you're going to see those stairs without a railing. The awning is gone, and the roof to that apartment is across the canal in a sugarcane field. It begins to get a little worse as you matriculate throughout the neighborhood, where several vehicles and brick walls are completely collapsed.
As you can see just right above my head there, and one of the panels, they're there fixing the glass. Yes, they are in cleanup mode.
You can see the tin wrapped around that post right there, which is one of the main distribution lines. I'm going to bring in now News 10's Rodrika Taylor. Rodrika, you had a chance to speak with some of the families just next door to the apartment complex over in the mobile home park.
I talked to one resident. He says he is 62 years old. He has been living in that area since 1994. And what happened today is something that he has never experienced.
And by the time I got out of my chair to my door, I couldn't open my door up. I couldn't move. I couldn't do nothing. My trailer was shaking so hard, and I seen everything just flying all over the place. It was the worst 3 seconds of somebody's life.
I could hear windows breaking and everything flying around. Ran into the hallway, me and my wife, and it only lasted about 2 or 3 minutes. But then you can see all the damage that occurred.
We rarely see around here. That's stuff you see out in Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Kansas, those areas.
As we get around to the rear of this building, I want to show you guys something, just the sheer strength of this storm. You look up there, you'll see that an entire section of brick was blown out from that room. Pictures left on the wall as part of the damage. Now, as we turn around, I want to show you guys something. About 80 yards away, it might look like a mound of dirt to you, but that is the roof of the building we just showed you. And that's how strong this storm was. Roughly 120-mile-an-hour winds took the roof off of that apartment building, carried it 80 yards away into a sugarcane field.
It only took less than 5 minutes for this tornado to rip all of these bricks off of this dance studio, and it ripped the partial roof off of the daycare behind me.
Franny Boffett built this dance studio when she was only 19. Now 69 years old, she says the damage from the tornado will not stop her from teaching her students.
It's my love. I've been doing it for so long, you know, and it's just been my baby for 50 years, you know, so we have to rebuild.
We have damage inside the house, the room's total loss, but we saved our lives. Thank God for that. I mean, we're safe.
Larry Broussard Jr. also thanking God for small blessings through this tragedy.
I walked to the front door, unlocked it, and my tree's still standing here with the presents. They're damp, but we can rewrap them.
While you can now see the sky from his living room and his sunroom is completely gone, he's thankful.
We came out of this good. I don't want to go through it again. My wife can't handle this.
Disaster struck in the Gulf of Mexico 1 year ago. The Sea Corps Power carrying 19 crewmen capsized, 6 rescued, 6 dead, 7 unaccounted for, including 3 from Acadiana.
Any more survivors, it's going to be slim. Reality is staring us in the face.
Families now living without their loved ones.
It's hard to live with. We know there is a reason. One day I guess we'll find out that reason.
While families are mourning the loss of their loved ones, congressional leaders are waiting to figure out if they can do more to protect offshore workers.
What I have to see is how the current executive agencies, Coast Guard for example, what their investigation has concluded. If that is inadequate, then there should be a congressional hearing.
We remember the tragedy on the 1-year anniversary in a KLFY special presentation. The Sea Corps Power disaster, 1 year later.
Hello Acadiana, and thanks for joining us for our special presentation in remembrance of the Sea Corps Power disaster.
A year has passed since the Sea Corps Power capsized off the coast of Port Fourchon, and the lives of 13 men were lost forever. Today, each name was etched into history as family and friends gathered at the Lady of the Gulf Shrine for a memorial. News 10's Neil Zarang reports from that very spot.
It was a very somber ceremony, but also a celebration of life. Music, a memorial, and prayers followed the family coming up to see this plaque. It says, in memory of the 13 men who lost their lives at seas after the capsize of the Sea Corps Power on April 13, 2021.
We all cried together and shared together about this tragic and how we miss those that's gone. So it gave us a lot of courage to go on.
3 of the crew members who were never found are from right here in Acadiana. Today on the anniversary of the disaster, 2 of those families are still searching for closure. News 10's Britt LaFaso reports.
We memorialized him with music because that was his passion. He loved music.
A father of 2 and soon-to-be husband, Jay Guevara of Lafayette was one of the 7 men who've never been found. In Abbeville, Gregory Walcott's family feeling that same pain.
The sad part about it is I know he died thinking he let us down. You understand? That's all his fault.
According to the U.S. Coast Guard and Terrebonne Parish officials, salvage operations are now complete and no human remains were found once the vessel's parts were on land.
News 10's Neil Zarang shares what other discoveries he made.
I've spoken with members of the NTSB, Coast Guard, Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office, and more. From what I've been told, salvage operations concluded months ago, with no more work anticipated to recover what parts are still left of the vessel buried in the Gulf. According to the National Transportation and Safety Bureau, investigators conducted a thorough examination of the salvage sections of the Sea Corps Power hull, superstructure, legs, and equipment, but that's not every part of the ship. The U.S. Coast Guard confirmed Hurricane Ida altered Sea Corps Marine's salvage plan.
They had cut the Sea Corps into several pieces, 3 pieces, I believe. They had gotten 2 of those sections out of there.
Well, there's still no official conclusion as to what happened or who's at fault, if anyone, for the disaster at sea.
Shortly after the accident, there was a call for a congressional hearing, but now 1 year later, no hearing has been held. News 10's Mark Rigsby explains.
A congressional aide tells me that hearings on Secor would come after the final report and recommendations from the NTSB and the U.S. Coast Guard, and that could be months from now.
We want to come out of this, good sir, more resilient, stronger, wiser, with better policies in place, legislation in place.
So what I have to see is how the current executive agencies, Coast Guard for example, what their investigation has concluded. If that is inadequate, then there should be a congressional hearing.
We are now joined by some very special folks who we have talked to before through the Secor disaster, and these are family members. And
we were lied to from the beginning.
Brutally.
We were told that there were going to be airbags to hold up the vessel. The salvage master with Don John, I mean, they just blatantly lied to us, to all the families.
Said they were going to put nets around the windows, the doors, everything, and just...
It took 1 month for one of their vessels to get on site.
Justin Pollock, his wife Anna, and their 4 children moved down south from Boston for his job and have lived in their Youngsville home since 2013. But it wasn't long before what was once their dream home quickly became a nightmare.
Right away when we bought the home, we started having warranty issues with the house, mostly with windows leaking and moisture and humidity problems in the house.
Same goes for Carissa Harrison and her family.
They've had to come in, they'd have to change the ductwork repeatedly because it was leaking condensation. They replaced plenum after plenum. They came in, they added a dehumidifier. They would come in and they would put this glue, and then all of a sudden this glue or mud, whatever they used, would just start dripping down like sweat and water.
That was Carissa Harrison back in March of 2021. She and her family have since relocated out of state, but they drove back to show us the problem still hasn't been repaired more than a year later.
We've filed warranty claims over and over and over, and continuously they would come in and try to fix the issue, but it's been nothing but Band-Aids.
Both the Pollocks and the Harrisons lived in the same neighborhood in D.R. Horton built homes, along with subcontractor Bell Mechanical. While the companies have come out and made several repairs, the homeowners say the issues seem to be never-ending.
In the fall of 2016, they replaced that pair of windows and took it upon themselves to also replace our foyer window. And on New Year's Eve of 16 going into 17, we had water leaking so bad out of the foyer window that wasn't leaking in the first place, that it was behind the paint, and it was also coming out from the inside of the light switches, to the point where it scared us enough that we had to go turn off the circuit breakers in the house because it became a fire hazard and everything was arcing inside of it.
The Pollock's daughter, Rachel, also developed asthma due to the mold growth. Her doctor connected the asthma to the exposure to aspergillus. An air quality and mold test of the home revealed an exact match between her disease and the mold growing inside the house.
For the first 6 months or so, she had to be on a nebulizer 3 times a day, having breathing problems.
We had to move out and go to a hotel for 2 months.
A few doors down the road at the Harrisons, in October of 2020, Carissa was learning a huge reason they had experienced so many problems with their brand new homes.
The telephone recording between me and Leslie, which is with D.R. Horton.
Are y'all not building the same house anymore, or like this should have been installed from day one? Like, and then it's not.
No, it has nothing to do with us. I'll tell you what it is. It's the code that we have to build to. We build to the federal mandate code, and we're regulated by federal law. We built to that code. That code was not designed for very humid markets, and the man who wrote that law even said that it's not designed for very humid markets. But we still have to adhere to what the rest of the country has been mandated to do.
That phone call is now a key piece of evidence in the latest development. A 36-page class action lawsuit filed on behalf of a Lafayette Parish couple and an unknown number of other homeowners who now find themselves in a similar situation after purchasing a home built in South Louisiana by D.R. Horton. As you know, hundreds of Louisiana families have now joined the class action suit against D.R. Horton after having multiple problems with their brand new homes. Now here's a look at just some of the damage that these homeowners are reporting. You can see the mold growing uncontrollably in this closet, leaking windows dangerously close to electrical sockets, and even a child developing asthma after exposure to the harmful conditions. Now as for court on Monday, this is what we've learned. Lawyers representing D.R. Horton said the contract that these homeowners signed clearly state that all claims against the company must go to arbitration. But lawyers representing some of the Acadiana families who bought these homes say that contract was violated when D.R. Horton did not disclose they were building homes not made for Louisiana's humid environment. Now, the plaintiff's attorneys point out that arbitration, it's a secret, and they want future homeowners to know this outcome. We're told they look forward to their day in court to challenge D.R. Horton's attempt to arbitrate. And the attorneys also told us Judge Don Johnson should have his ruling within a week.
A deadly 24 hours in Louisiana.
We have about probably 20 to 30 homes that are damaged. Several are destroyed.
Last night at this time, tornadoes hit the Shreveport and Monroe areas, killing 2 people.
The possibility of a tornado heading towards the Mamou and eventually the Ville Platte area.
Then this morning, a tornado warning for Evangeline Parish. That storm also caused massive flooding in Ville Platte.
The rain bands and wind gusts pretty solid.
Just before 11 a.m. this morning, the storm system moved south, putting Iberia Parish under 2 tornado warnings.
There's actually 2 tornado warnings, 2 separate tornado warnings for your area there.
That storm system created twin tornadoes that went through the southern part of New Iberia. When the rain stopped, we got our first look at the damage around New Iberia, where at least 6 people were injured.
I could hear windows breaking and everything flying around.
It was the worst 3 seconds of somebody's life.
Then later this afternoon, that deadly storm system moved east into the New Orleans area, killing 1 person in St. Charles Parish. It's been a deadly 24 hours in Louisiana. KLFY News 10's team coverage begins now.
From Acadiana, your local news leader, this is KLFY News 10 at 10.
Thanks for joining us. At least 2 tornadoes touched down in New Iberia today, causing heavy damage. Here's some intense video out of New Iberia. Fortunately, there are no fatalities reported in Acadiana. Iberia Parish President Larry Richard says at least 6 people were injured. Only 1 remains in the hospital tonight. News 10's Dalford Jones has been out in the field in New Iberia all evening. Dalford begins our team coverage. He is live from the tornado-ravaged area. Dalford, we're getting a look even tonight. The damage is still as devastating as earlier today.
Darla, as you said, it has been a long day throughout the state of Louisiana, but especially here for the folks in New Iberia. But even tonight, at 10 o'clock p.m., there's a family just over to my right. They've lit a bonfire, and they've got the pit rolling. They've got a little barbecue going, trying to get this family fed. But fortunately for them, they can sleep inside of their apartment tonight as there was no significant damage. They're still without power, but unfortunately for the people about 2 doors down, they can't say the same. Here in the Southport neighborhood, the property owner has already began to board up several of the windows as they were blown out during this tornado that hit the New Iberia community roughly about 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. You can see the debris spread out. We're talking about windows, entire walls, television sets, ice chests, even a microwave, part of the debris that's spewing about the Southport neighborhood. Now, as we get around to the rear of this building, I want to show you guys something, just the sheer strength of this storm. You look up there, you'll see that an entire section of brick was blown out from that room. Pictures left on the wall as part of the damage. Now, as we turn around, I want to show you guys something. About 80 yards away, it might look like a mound of dirt to you, but that is the roof of the building we just showed you. And that's how strong this storm was. Roughly 120-mile-an-hour winds took the roof off of that apartment building, carried it 80 yards away into a sugarcane field. So when the people return here to the Southport neighborhood, they've got a lot of mess to clean up. Now, a couple notes for you. When you do come home, You will need to show proof of residency, as there are law enforcement officials at the entrance to this community. We're going to continue our team coverage with News 10's Britt LaFaso. She's here in New Iberia and had a chance to speak with a couple of the residents affected by today's tornado.
Yeah, hey Alfred, I'm in a neighborhood about 10 minutes away from you. And residents here tell me that this tornado touched down just before noon today. And you can see it only took less than 5 minutes for this tornado to rip all of these bricks off of this dance studio, and it ripped the partial roof off of the daycare behind me, and of course did a lot more devastation to all of the homes in this neighborhood.
We just have a lot of Silatex down, insulation all over the place, water lines are down, but you know, the good Lord don't give us anything we can't handle.
Franny Boffett built this dance studio when she was only 19. Now 69 years old, she says the damage from the tornado will not stop her from teaching her students.
It's my love. I've been doing it for so long, you know, and it's just been my baby for 50 years, you know, so we have to rebuild.
She says luckily she canceled classes for her preschool and kindergarten students who are usually here Wednesday mornings. Businesses around her, though, were open.
I heard the nursery school had kids in there. Nobody was hurt. The dentist office had patients in their chair. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. So God blessed us in that way.
Many people in this neighborhood thanking God they're alive.
We have damage inside the house, the room's total loss, but we saved our lives. Thank God for that. I mean, we're safe.
Larry Broussard Jr. also thanking God for small blessings through this tragedy.
I walked to the front door, unlocked it, and my tree's still standing here with the presents. They're damp, but we can rewrap them.
Well, you can now see the sky from his living room, and his sunroom is completely gone. He's thankful.
We came out of this good. I don't want to go through it again. My wife can't handle this.
And though many are grateful, they say prayers are needed.
Just pray for this neighborhood because it really is a devastated area.
And the mayor of New Iberia and the police chief is here as well say that they have implemented a curfew for the Southport neighborhood, which is where Alfred is. And like he was saying, they are asking everyone to show proof that they actually live there, and that curfew will end at 5 a.m. Reporting live in New Iberia, Britt LaFaso, KLFY News 10.
All right, thank you for your coverage tonight, Britt. Here at Southport, we saw a lot of damage, and like Mr. Larry said just a minute ago, they came out of this thing good. What we're about to show you next is one of the harder hit areas. Just to my left, about 100 yards away or so, is the mobile home community next to the Southport apartment complex. Our News 10's Rodrika Taylor had a chance to catch up with the folks who live there.
Take a look at the bricks that collapsed on the side of this apartment as the tornado came through this neighborhood. Many families were displaced in the Southport apartments and surrounding areas.
I was on the telephone with my daughter because she lives in this trailer right here. And I was screaming and hollering at her, and I couldn't hear her. I mean, it just happened like that. Within 3 seconds, it had wiped out everything.
62-year-old Johnny Drew Sale says he was alone when the tornado hit the ground.
Got out of my chair to my door. I couldn't open my door up. I couldn't move. I couldn't do nothing. My trailer was shaking so hard, and I seen everything just flying all over the place.
Is this the first time a tornado passed through here?
Yeah, as far as I know, you know, first time a tornado passed, and it passed with vengeance. We okay, thank God. So, but if anybody experienced it, they know what we're going through.
New Iberia Mayor Freddie Delcourt says help was quickly offered to residents.
We have a lot of damage. Many people lost their homes. We have about 5 or 6 trailers that are severely damaged, plus apartment complexes. So it's not a good day. The bright side is there are no fatalities and no major injuries, so we're blessed because of that.
We all know when events like this happen, natural disasters like this happen,
people are out of their homes. They have no homes. They have a lot of needs. So we're going to ask the public to come together and help the people that need, and we're going to continue to assess that as we go.
As many try to move forward from the aftermath of the tornado, local authorities encourage residents to be cautious of areas still with down power lines. In New Iberia, Rodriguez Taylor, KLFY News 10.
So as you can see, though we're in a rural part of the community, it's still a very densely populated area with multiple family homes. And if the storm would have been at least a quarter mile to our southeast, it would have missed the mobile homes, the apartment complex, but unfortunately it didn't, and it continued to travel throughout the community of New Iberia. News 10's Dawson D'Amico has more from in town.
Devastation struck here on a state street, as behind me you can see one example of what the damage did to this dentist building. I spoke with the owner of the office, who says he and others were inside of the building when it all occurred.
We were at the office seeing patients, and then all of a sudden we got a tornado alarm, and everyone migrated to the sterilization room, which is in the center of the office. And I was wondering, man, what's going on? He said, you better get in here. So I got in there.
It was at that moment the entire building came down.
Blew out the front of the office, tore off the back and top of the roof.
Wow. Dr. Derwan says he is grateful for how the community responded to what happened as soon as the coast was clear.
It's good. Everybody, I mean, we've got so many calls of people helping us and you know, checking on us and everything like that. And our office is destroyed. I've actually got a couple of calls about being able to use a vacant office for the time being.
Now, I spoke with the family, who says even though this is a huge setback, they're not going to let this ruin their holiday season. In New Iberia, Dawson D'Amico, KLFY News 10.
So as you can see, this storm did not choose favorites, and even a place most people retreat to for refuge or for help or treatment was damaged. News 10's Renee Allen has the damage over at the Iberia Medical Center.
The damage sustained here is clearly visible, but what's not visible to the naked eye is the impact that all of this will have on residents in the area and trying to receive medical services. Now, the Attorney General, who is from New Iberia, Jeff Landry, he was out here surveying the area along with the sheriff. And Jeff Landry, he spoke about getting resources to the medical facilities in the area through an emergency disaster declaration. Of course, that'll be done through the governor. Also, along with him was the sheriff, Tommy Romero, and he wants people to stay away from those areas where there is a lot of damage and debris just still sitting on the ground. Yes, they are in cleanup mode, but safety mode is just as important.
We ask, while the cleanup, naturally we have to do some cleanup to be able to assess properly closer so what the needs are for the hospital. So we're going to ask people who are driving by, just coming out just to look, to please refrain from doing that. It really causes us some issues when we're trying to get emergency vehicles in and out, or repair vehicles, or pickup crews to pick up the debris that lays around, because that's a big hazard. So we ask that the general public try to help us out with that. We would really appreciate it.
Tornado touched down at the Iberia Medical Center here probably early in the afternoon. We're told that there are reported about 5 minor injuries. There were some people here receiving services as well as some employees. And again, the focus here is being safe. Renee Allen reporting for KLFY News 10. From homes to businesses, this storm ruined a lot of people's days, and we're going to be busy cleaning up for quite some time. Our storm team meteorologists have been telling us to expect severe weather throughout the week. This is what we got, and you're starting to see the aftermath all over Iberia Parish as well as the state. We're going to head back to the News 10 studio into the Weather Center with Chief Meteorologist Heath Morton and Darla Montgomery.
Yes, thank you, Dalfred. As you saw in the video, a lot of the damage, and we were able to show quite a bit of it, but maybe for another perspective, you can help us out. You were tracking these storms, and you can actually show us the actual path that the storm took.
Yeah, the storm came out of Vermilion Bay, and it had a little rotation, and once it got to Iberia Parish, it started rotating more. They issued the warning. They issued the warning about 10:40, and it touched down about 10:45. So they did issue, the National Weather Service did issue that warning just before it touched down, and then it got real tight rotation there as it moved across New Iberia. At Southport neighborhood, that little subdivisions where it hit Amador Drive, and then it moved across and hit the medical center as it crossed to 182, then it went up toward a state road. It actually kind of made a northerly track after it crossed 182 there. It was moving more to the east-northeast and took more of a northerly track, but the first touchdown there was near East Admiral Drive, and it was on the ground for a few miles, and then it lifted. Luckily, it did lift when it did. There could have been a lot worse for areas to the northeast of there. And look at this area here, a lot of businesses and very populated, so it did hit just to the south of a lot of these businesses. Unfortunately, it did hit several areas here, like the medical center, and we can see there that subdivision. And the National Weather Service will actually go out, and they're going to assess the damage tomorrow. I'm thinking EF2, maybe EF3, but they'll go out and see what it looks like tomorrow and give us an estimation of what the winds could have been with this tornado, Darla.
All right, thank you, Heath. That severe weather turned deadly in other parts of the Bayou State. In St. Charles Parish, one person was killed and several others were injured. A tornado touched down there around 3 p.m. and left behind damage that included downed power lines, potential gas leaks, and blocked roads. The St. Charles Parish president has declared a state of emergency. A 30-year-old woman and her 8-year-old son were killed during a tornado that hit Keithville yesterday. Yoshiko Smith's body was found under storm debris, and her son Nicholas Little's body was found in a wooded area. Autopsies have been ordered.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Acadiana Live. I am Lydia Alcala. As you can tell, today looks a lot different than normal. We are not in the studio today. We are riding in the Independent Parade. We are leading the Independent Parade. As you can see behind us, you can see the fair and Cajun Dome. We're getting to the end of it, and today we are going to be talking to some of News 10's own here on the float with us about all things Mardi Gras season, some of their favorite memories, their favorite things to do during the season. So first, we have Miss Darla Montgomery and Gerald Grunick joining us here. Thank you guys for being with us.
The crowd goes wild for Darla, baby. Yeah, you're right.
And Gerald too, man. Man, I've been hearing y'all's names left and right.
What fun. I gotta tell you, this is a first for me. I have never been on a float doing a live show. So this is a nice twist because normally, you know, we're on the parade route, we're seeing people, but we're on the float live. The entire crew is here, Joe. What fun.
Look, I can tell you, when they started talking about doing this a couple of weeks ago, I told Lydia, I said it's going to be on, baby. So glad it's happening, glad to be doing it, and glad we're back for another Mardi Gras.
And this is actually my first time ever on a float throwing these to people. So, first time on a float and first time doing a live show from the float. So, but you got
a double treat, honey. This is awesome.
I did.
And isn't it wonderful? It's been 2 years, Gerald and Lydia, since we've had a chance to actually enjoy Mardi Gras, and I am just amazed at the numbers out today. It has been fantastic.
Yes. I feel like it started right over the weekend. I mean, and it's just been building. Looking at the crowd at Rio, Cruda Canaya a week ago, you know, I think we all got spoiled 2 years ago by how sweet life was, so it feels really good to be back for sure, baby. Let's go.
And Gerald, you said it's been kind of building up all weekend. I've noticed even just throughout this parade, it started off and it was popping at the beginning, but now, like, if you guys would see the people out here, it's been crazy. It's been such a good time today.
It has, and it is actually one of my favorite parts of Mardi Gras because this is when everybody comes together. You really get to see folks because you have the different balls and the different crews, and so it's kind of separate. But this is a big street party. It's a community party, and what I love about Lafayette, it is so family friendly. We have seen all the children and all the families. See, there we go.
My man. Darla, you were on a good point. Look, Lydia, Darla was on a roll though, and she's right. I got done riding in New Orleans on Sunday. You just get off the float and go home. Oh, no, baby. Cajun Field, man. That's where it's happening.
Yeah,
you're right.
Whenever we get off the air, the party's going to continue. you over here at Cajun Dome.